Welcome. We're live on the Smart Connector group. It's the Smart Connector podcast, Thursday evening, 8 p.m. This is when we always go live. And as ever, I have another wonderful guest for you. Welcome, Gary Doherty.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Great to have you here, Gary. So Gary's a PR expert and he's a speaker and a founder of Think Network, which specializes in partnerships, collaboration, and public speaking, delivered online as well as in physical events, workshops, and private groups. And he's facilitated hundreds of TED Talks that have received millions of views worldwide. And he also became a 2 times TEDx speaker earlier this year himself. And he was also recognized as Ulster Tatler Businessman of the Year 2022. So we're really, really honored to have you here, Gary. And we're going to talk tonight about the power of PR. We're going to talk about public speaking and how to become a global thought leader today in 2022 in our very, very saturated online world. So I can't wait to get into it. So, yeah, well, Gary, let's start with your journey. So tell us a little bit about how you came to become a PR expert and also about your own TEDx journey, because that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for that. I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and always felt that I could do more, be more, offer more value. I didn't really know how I fitted in the world for a long time, and it's been a journey and a half to get to this point, as it is with people that achieve different levels of success, Jane. But through my inquisitive nature, it took me into the depths and the heart of personal development. And I've always been a lifelong learner. So I suppose I was exercising my personal development before I knew what personal development was. And then my passion led me into serving other people. I get a lot of satisfaction. I get a lot of joy, happiness, and fulfillment from helping other people shine. There's a reason for that. It's not by chance. It's because I was the person that wanted to shine, but hadn't the courage to speak, hadn't the courage to put my hand up, hadn't the courage to put my best foot forward, hadn't got the courage to didn't enjoy getting my photograph taken. Things like that. I was that person that inside knew they had more, but hadn't the courage or the wisdom or the know-how to go and physically do it. So that's why I do what I do. It's not because Gary's this born do-gooder and he just loves going around supporting people because he loves doing that. I actually, at the heart of it, it means a lot to me because I was that person. So I view it like that,
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think sometimes we become experts in something because we're seekers ourselves, aren't
Yeah.
we? And so we want to find the answer. We want to find the solution to this thing that we really want. It's like it's there. It's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And we're going to find out how to get there. And then once we do that, then we're going to help others do the same. So that's your story. That's absolutely fantastic. So Gary, tell us about your first TED Talk. How did you decide that this was something you wanted to do, or did the opportunity just fall into your lap, as it were?
I decided, I'm going to say, when I decided, I had a mentor at the time, and one of the things that we always talked about was doing a TED Talk each. But it was like pie in the sky, pipe dream. I'm going back like years. I'm going back 7, 8, 9 years. And it was like a pipe dream. It was like the X factor. It was like, and a part of the reason for that is because in Northern Ireland, there wasn't a lot of TED events, like ever, right? Yeah, I'm talking a handful in history, right? So to do that in your own country, to visualize yourself doing that, it's very difficult to actually visualize that clearly when there hasn't been a lot of it before you, So when we talked about it, it was like, and I wasn't a public speaker at the time. It was like, oh God, imagine doing that. That would be whoa, that'd be a big thing, you know. And like, it nearly crippled me speaking at my own wedding 22 years ago. You know, honestly, like, there's a story behind that too, by the way. On the day, I had to be coached and mentored into actually doing that. But so to do a TED talk, it was like this holy grail. And we both just and we drifted apart anyway over the years. He never did do his TED talk, but I had it in my head that, yeah, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know who, but I know I will. I'm like that. You know, I make decisions in my mind, regardless if I know how, and I know I'm going to. And I've already done it today with different things as well. And the inquisitive nature again, the one that took me into the whole personal development world, took me into the TED world. I watched talks, I turned up at events, I asked questions, I connected with people on LinkedIn, I started to follow this, I started to follow that. And yeah, I just immersed myself into that world. And as my profile grew with Think Network, I was put on the radar of a TED licensee who admired what I was doing, who, unbeknownst to me at the time, was following me on my journey on social media, i.e. my personal brand and how I was turning up on social media. And I sent her a message. I sent her a message on LinkedIn saying, hey, I hadn't even the courage to put myself forward for the talk, even at that stage. And I said, hey, if you haven't got a host for your event, I would love to host for you, because I was doing that anyway, Jane, with Think Network, right? So I was thinking, okay, I could put my host hat on here and be the MC. And I got a message back saying, I have a better one than that for you. I would like you to be one of our speakers.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, this is a bit early. And then, do you know what I done? I said yes like that, and then figure it out later.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's how I got to that point.
Amazing. So you were really pushed into it, weren't you, then, by somebody else, but it was something that you'd held as an ambition for some time. So how did you decide the topic of your TED Talk? And in fact, what was the topic?
The topic was about giving up 3 feet from gold. I wanted to share the idea that you could always be and should always have in your mind that you could be within touching distance of your goals and your dreams and your ambitions.
Yeah.
The reason that was my idea, it's not a revolutionary idea, but I did have a unique perspective on it according to me and my life. And I said, basically my idea was for other people to share their belief in somebody with them. So for example, Jane, if I said to you, if I knew that you didn't believe in yourself about something, or I seen that sort of doubt in you and about something, but I actually believed in you, if I had the courage to actually say it to you, because most people don't. How many people do you hear going around telling people I believe in, you just don't hear it really. So
not really.
Somebody did in me. Somebody told me they believed in me in front of 200 or 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I borrowed that belief and I ran with it and I made it mine through time, affirmations, and talking to myself and convincing myself that they were right. They must be right. This person's revered and they're telling me they believe in me. So my talk was, who can you tell that you believe in them? So they don't give up 3 feet from gold.
That's so nice. What a lovely message to spread to the world. I love that.
Thank you. And it was inspired by my late father-in-law, Mercer McCollum, who believed in me, and that talk was for him. And that talk was very personal for me. That talk was very emotional for me.
Mm-hmm.
To it, you can hear my voice breaking halfway through it at one point. And it meant a lot to me. It didn't go viral. I didn't care. That talk was for me, for him, for my family, and everybody else second after that, to be honest. To be really honest. Well, yes and no. I'm contradicting myself there. I needed to do that for me, and with the hope that it would help somebody else as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, to a certain extent, I haven't done a TED Talk myself, but I would imagine that some of it is about legacy in a way. It's about the message that you want to leave behind in the world.
Yeah.
And it is about the value that you want to bring to the world as well, I'm
Of course.
sure. But
Of course.
it's also an incredible tool in terms of building your authority, your credibility,
Of course.
getting people to understand what's unique about you as opposed to everybody else that's out there.
Mhm.
And I think that's why people are so attracted to the idea of doing something like this. But the thing is, Gary, it wasn't enough for you to finish there. You went and did a second one as well, didn't you? So tell us about that. What inspired you to go second time around, and what was your second talk all about?
Well, listen, before I actually go on to that, I want to just say something in this live, and this is unprompted, and you're not expecting this. I actually think you should do one at some point. You're very eloquent, and you speak very well, and I like listening to you, and you're very good with words and good vocally. I actually think you should do one at some point. So there's one for you. Fire back that at you.
Oh, I
Um,
would I would actually love to. I would love to do a TED Talk and talk about the power of connection,
you should.
and talk about how when I grew up, connection was something that was almost like a dirty word. The whole idea was that you had to be independent. You didn't ask people for help. You
Yeah.
didn't This whole thing about being interconnected, interdependent, being a part of something that was bigger than you, was not very much not the way it was in my family. So I learned about the power of connection quite late in life. So I think that would be the topic of my TED Talk.
Yeah,
But
and I think it's amazing. I think you should look into that. You were saying to me about my TED Talk number two.
yeah,
Funnily enough, as you move through the gears in in this world, you become more visible. You've seen, you're heard more. Opportunities come thicker and faster because people know you, they see you, they know, like, and trust you. They know that you can turn up and do it. And it was
mhm,
the middle of the pandemic, and through my networking and through my not just networking, through my building my relationships with people, I was invited to do a virtual one, right?
uh-huh,
So this was new, right? And this was at a time when we were pretty much not in full lockdown, but close to. Can't go X amount of miles away from your home, blah blah blah, right? So we adhered to all that, of course, but um, because we weren't seeing people, physical people anymore, you weren't even allowed to see some members of your family, you weren't allowed to
mhm,
visit parents, all that crazy stuff that we know went on in the world, and we all lived through it, and we all went through it together. Um, I started to play around with the idea, and it was a play in words, of course, when I tell you this, but I started to play around with the idea: do do I actually need or want to meet people physically again? Now, of course, I do, and I have, and I will. But I was playing around with the essence of what I was saying was this: we don't need to meet physically as much as we did before. And when you are meeting physically, and choose your meetings very carefully, time is precious. Time with yourself and your family is precious. I became more time conscious. I became more aware of the value of my time. And I was driving hours and hours and having back-to-back coffee meetings. And I was shooting the breeze for half the day. And I was leaving my family, and I was driving 500 miles when I could jump on a Zoom with Eugene. Boom, be so productive. Things happened, building relationships, deepening relationships, adding real value. So I was starting to play around with the idea
mm.
that, do I physically need to meet people anymore? Do I even want to physically meet somebody anymore? Has my virtual emotional intelligence heightened to enough where I can really connect with people online like never before, and maybe never again, the same impact? So that's what my second talk was about. It was very
Mm.
relevant to the time that we were in. But my idea was, it wasn't tongue in cheek, but I was challenging people's mindsets and my own to a certain degree going forward, and it went viral.
Yeah. So it went viral. Well, very, very topical, of course. So I'm not surprised. So
Yeah,
tell us about what happened then next.
it just caught fire, went crazy. 60,000 views in 1 week. 20 30,000 views in 24 hours. My inbox, ping, 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 ping. Messages, boom, 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 boom. Everything went mad. Local media got hold of it. It just went crazy. I was this guy that didn't want to meet people again, and there's this virtual, this virtual being almost, and but it was really, really good. It really put me on the map around that time, as did Clubhouse. Believe it or not, of all platforms, Clubhouse blew up for me at that time as well, because it was like the lockdown app.
Yeah.
It was everybody flocked to in the morning for whatever room was going, like, about popular culture or motivation. People were looking for community. People were looking to be together. People were looking for other like minds. They needed them more than ever, Jane.
Yes.
They needed them more than ever. You, me, and that's why Zoom went through the roof. Zoom was always there. Zoom was there 2 years or 5 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago. But it only caught fire 2020. So everybody flocked. They needed something, wanted something, needed to be together. And that was the thing. And that blew my social media up at the time, by the way. So,
yeah, I'm not surprised. Not surprised.
Everything just blew up for me at that time.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really interesting because it just speeded up change so much more than would have happened otherwise. And we're obviously feeling the benefits and the drawbacks of that now, because I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think for people who they embrace the online world, and I'm certainly with you in that, it's convenient, it's fast, it's, if you know how to use it in the right way, then it's very, very powerful. But it's hard for a lot of people. A lot of the people that I speak to are struggling. They have been struggling because they were not equipped for this world. And, so you help people really put their brand, grow their brand online through PR, through awards, through speaking, through TED Talks, through even Wikipedia, their own Wikipedia page. So you're really amplifying their footprint, aren't you, online? And so those are such powerful things to do, because it's so hard, isn't it, just to stand out and to really get the attention of your ideal clients, your ideal audience, whoever it is that you're aiming for. The first rule of thumb is you want them to see you as more valuable and more of an authority, I suppose, than others that they might also be talking to. So let's just talk about that, the value of PR and why all that stuff is important.
Yeah, well, I'm very, very passionate about this here, because for me, it's bigger than PR. You talk about PR, people think traditional PR, newspapers, ads in the local lists, billboard, or whatever conventional PR was. For me, I'm talking about standing out in a world where it's easy to blend in. I'm talking about shining the light on people that deserve to be heard, deserve to be seen, deserve to be respected, deserve to earn money, deserve for their product and service to really shine. So I find that because of my attitude to what I do, and I attract a clientele that have got a purpose much bigger than self. People that are out to create impact, not just sell a book, or not just promote just a business. I deal with people normally who have got a passion and purpose much greater than self. They want to create meaningful change in the world. They want to improve lives of people they may never meet. Yes, everybody's got a product, service, and offering to sell, or most people have, and quite rightly, they deserve to do well as off the back of the PR, but usually their driver is to just create more impact, reach more people, touch more people, improve more people's lives, including theirs. And that's where the leverage and the capitalizing of your visibility comes in. But usually it's like people being driven by money or driven by their mission and vision. You know what I mean? So money is like a short-term motivator, a short-term. It's important, and we should all earn lots of money because we all deserve to have great abundance in our life. That's actually a TED talk for somebody I wish would do, because a lot of people don't like talking about money, and that's why a lot of people don't have money. I believe that the conversation about money should be a healthy one. We deserve to earn money, all of us, and lots of it, so that we can do great things with it, for ourselves and others. But I'm away off in a rant now in another angle. But yeah, I love shining the light on people and see them achieve their potential, and help, and know that I'm part of that journey. It gives me joy, happiness, and fulfillment. And you've heard me say those three words already, but that's very, very important to me personally. I could earn a lot of money doing things that don't bring me that, and I don't.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was that famous publicist called Max Clifford, wasn't there? And you're kind of like the anti-Max Clifford, aren't you?
I'm not about that. I'm about the hand on heart. We don't always get it right, but our results speak for themselves. We have people scaled up to 7, 8, 9-figure not 9-figure, 7 and 8-figure businesses. I've worked with people that have scaled on up. I'm not saying I was the reason they did. What I am saying is I was part of their journey. They did work with me. They did do some good things. We did work together. So this has a part to play in, I believe, in success, achieving whatever success is to you, if you are looking to be seen, heard, and visible online.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point. And I certainly know for me, I can't see why I would want to go through all of this if I didn't have a message to bring to the world, if I really didn't believe that I had value that I could create out there. I mean, it just has to be the driver, because there are many easier ways to make money, to be honest.
Yes.
You know, if you are driven to be somebody who has a voice and who can be found, and who people can discover and follow and like and, you know, consume, in terms of what you're putting out there, it has to be of interest, and it has to be of value, doesn't it? You can't actually do it if you're just doing it for the money. You just can't, because people they'll spot that from a mile off, won't they?
Of course. I think, as you say, when you're a people person like you are, definitely, and I am, you know, we love meeting people. I'm one of these people. I love seeing other people succeed, like genuinely from my heart. Even people I may not actually like have a great energy or vibe with, because we're all different people, aren't we, in this world? You're not going to get on with everybody all of the time, but like, I actually thrive off seeing other people do well. And even people that are maybe not in my sphere of influence or aren't my flavor or whatever it might be, and maybe I'm not theirs or whatever, I still champion other people. It never ceases to inspire me, because I'm that person too. And how can you not the word hate, but how can you hate on somebody else's success and want to be successful yourself? No.
True. So Gary, let's just get on to some specifics. So let's say I wanted to do a TED Talk myself. How would you actually discover a topic? I mean, do people normally have something that they have a burning passion and they just know what they want to talk about? Or is there a kind of structure or a filtering system? Or, you know, how does it all happen? I'm sure people want to know.
Yeah, both is the answer. Both, they usually have something they want to talk about. But here's what I would share with anybody listening to this. And this is said with love. This is said with good intention to help you. This is said with knowledge and wisdom from experience gained, so that you don't run down a blind alley with this. 9 times out of 10, the applicants that I have had over the years didn't know what a TED Talk actually and really was.
Mm.
Right? Interesting. You would think, well, a TED Talk is what it is. It's this motivational talk or whatever. A TED Talk, in fact, is not, in capital letters, a motivational or inspirational talk.
Mm-hmm.
If it inspires and motivates somebody, fantastic. But that is not the intention. A TED Talk is an idea worth sharing and spreading with the world. It could
Okay.
be that your idea is that wheels in a car should be square and not round, and here's why.
Uh-huh.
Of course, they're not going to be square and round. I'm playing with words, of course, but you get my point. It
Yeah.
has to. It's an idea worth
A single idea. Yeah.
single idea. Like, for example, my daughter did a TED talk, and her idea was that my daughter, we have two autistic grandsons, two autistic sons. She has two autistic sons, and her idea was they don't have to change to fit in with the world. The world needs to change for them to fit in. And she talked about examples of going into a shop and how shopkeepers would do this, or how there's no access to this at school, or how, etc., etc. So we talked about society needs to adapt to autistic
Mm.
people, not autistic people adapting to them.
Yeah.
That's an idea, whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first thing I'd say to anybody. Study what a TED Talk actually is. Basic fundamentals. Just because you like the brand and you like the red dot and you think it's going to look great in your bio, my advice is immerse yourself in the world of TED. What is it, a TED Talk? Do you know how many minutes it should be? What's your favorite TED Talk? Have you watched any at all, really? Have you actually went to any events even? You know, for me, the best TED speakers become TED students.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So when you contact me for the first time, you best know a wee bit about it. Because if I feel it's just, oh, I want to do a TED Talk, but I haven't a clue, Gary, you be the fountain, be the Wikipedia of TED Talks for me. I'm like, I want from you somebody that's traveled a wee bit of path, understanding what it actually is. And then we talk about the idea, Jane. But that's the first point. And that's the most valuable one for anybody, because they're going to hit roadblocks if they don't even do that.
Yeah, I think the thing that always impresses me about the TED Talks that I've seen is that they have incredible structure. And I always notice that there is obviously a clear structure that they're following, and it makes their talk compelling, because obviously this has been involved over a period of time. And I think it's just amazing that we can actually go online and we can see all these people delivering all these amazing talks on these amazing stages, and it's just absolutely fantastic. And Richard's here, he says, good tips. Okay, well, keep them coming, Richard. Yeah, great. Okay, so let's move on from talking about TED Talks, because we were chatting beforehand about Wikipedia as well, Gary. And Wikipedia, how many people would love to have their own Wikipedia page but have no idea where to start? And I gather that it's a bit of a minefield. So I'd love to hear more about that and about your experience and the service that you provide.
Yeah, thank you. In our business and what we do, we are very innovative and very creative. As I was saying earlier, we're not traditional PR people. PR is one stream to my business. It's one I take very seriously, and it's one I give my heart and soul to. And I've quickly realized through personal branding is that if you have got a high value product, service, or offering, and you want to create impact in the world, it's how you may have a great product, service, and offering. You might be a great person, you might be an amazing human being, but unless you're also perceived like you are, then the likelihood of you excelling with what you have is slim, because people need to know who you are to start with. They need to like who you are Likability can take us a long way in life. We're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but as long as we are trying our best, and trust, know, like, and trust. And that's where our online presence either stands up or falls down. And what we have realized is there are certain ingredients that add to that notability online, like a TED Talk, like appearing in tier 1 articles like Forbes, Inc., Market Watch, Star Tribune, Digital Journal, whoever it may be. But another one is being featured as a person of notability on Wikipedia, which is look over the physical encyclopedia that we all would have had rows of at home when we were young. And that is where people of notability are recognized for who they are, where they are in the world, and what they actually do. It's like almost like equivalent of having a blue tick of being verified on a social media platform. I realized for about 2 years that it was a minefield to go through.
Yeah.
Companies all over the world offering it, and quite often not delivering it from the research that I did, and not delivering it to the expectations of the clients, not meeting their expectations. So when I found myself in this world, I really started to study and explore how this came about. So I went through the process myself. Okay. Now, the reason that you want to get a Wikipedia page isn't for marketing purposes per se. That's how you get a Wikipedia page shut down, by the way, is when you're shouting from the rooftops, I'm on Wikipedia, buy my product and service and offering. It's actually the same as breaking a rule with a TED Talk. Hey, I've got a TED Talk, here's my book. You know what I mean? It's for the reasons that your potential client can know, like, and trust you. You're a person of notability. The essence of it is pure, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so that's what we talk to people about, the integrity of it, the how it's important that it's managed, and we take people through that process. But yeah, it's something that a lot of people are wanting, similar to social media verification. Everybody wants it, and nobody knows how to get it. We're still trying to crack that one, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating. So just to go back to the topic of PR, Gary, because I worked in media and entertainment for 20 years in London at very, very high level, big global advertising agencies. There were big PR agencies within those groups that I operated in. So obviously I got to know some of the key strategic thinkers in PR at the time, just in the world. And for me, I don't think about PR as just placing an article in a magazine or a local newspaper or something like that, because I've never been exposed to that type of PR, to be honest. The PR people that I work with they were extremely strategic. And that is my notion of PR. So, for example, when we scaled and sold the brand identity company that I ran to the US communications group Interpublic, what was the primary tool that took the growth from 1 to 6 million before getting it sold? It was PR. I always say that because it was a PR strategy. That was what changed the perception of the business in the marketplace, and actually got a different caliber of clients coming there with these opportunities. So for me, that was always my understanding of PR. And I think a lot of people don't really understand it. They don't actually get it, that it is at its core, I think, a really strategic activity to take your business to the next level. And obviously all of these tools like, the TED Talk, Wikipedia or whatever, they're very sophisticated tools because they're not selling, they're positioning.
Yes.
That's the difference, don't you think?
Totally. You're storytelling to the world.
Yeah.
Your storytelling. When you storytell, the stories the story sells for you. People buy from people. That's why people buy from me, because they know I'm credible, they know I'm notable, they trust me, I deliver, and we take massive action. As somebody commented in there.
Yeah, Richard's saying if you become successful, you get in Forbes and some of those people and others, because people will know of your notoriety and likability and find you inspiring. And, yes, that's it. He says, shame Centre Park's got it wrong.
Very good.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about that story, but
No.
I'll assume it wasn't good.
Yeah, so yes, we were just talking about the power of PR to strategically influence the perception of yourself. Obviously, if you're if you're the face of your business, or your business in the eyes of your target audience, and it's shifting beliefs really, and shifting perception, and also shifting that faith and trust that they have in you, right?
Oh, totally. And I think it's something that is done over time. It is done with consistency.
Yeah.
It's done with commitment to the process and continuously improving as you go.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's a quick fix. No quick fixes. There is no magic wand. It is hard work, smart work, and strategic work done with integrity and consistently over time, minimum 6 months, in my experience, to have impact that's measurable, properly measurable. And that's what we tell our clients. That's the message that we preach. I'm not here to take somebody's money quickly and promise them XYZ. I would rather not do that, because I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. We always aim to exceed our customers' and clients' expectations, and on the whole, we do, thankfully. But again, that's not by chance. That's through being focused and being open and honest and transparent as much as you physically can be in this world.
Yeah. And yes, I mean, definitely. I think it took us about 6 months before we really started to see the impact of very, very consistent effort. And we had an agency. I mean, we paid quite a lot of money to an agency to do this work for us, but it really did work. And what's kind of interesting is, look, all of the most successful, wealthy and successful people in the world, they all value this PR. I mean, that's really what media is all about. It's all a fight for our hearts and our minds, isn't it?
Totally.
At the heart of it, that is what it is all about. It is not just something that is a bolt-on activity. Media and the way that media influences our perception of what's going on in the world, what people we think are good. I think it's kind of interesting, the war in Kiev, for example, because without getting too political, there are many different sides to the story, and yet with this and with a lot of other ideas, let's just say, that are pushed through the media, when you are trained in that and when you have that background, you do recognize that, look, it's a bit like being a lawyer, isn't it? That you can push a certain agenda, you can push a certain story, or you can push another story, but there is often another side to the story that is not being represented. And so it can be used for the good, but it can be used for the bad as well, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. What I focus on, what we focus on, and we tell the people we work with as well, or we talk with, is let's focus on what we can control. We can control about how we turn up and show up to the world, regardless of what external circumstances there are. And I applied this approach through COVID and all the rest of it. I controlled what I could control, and that gave me confidence and reduced my anxiety. And that's what I adopt the same attitude in my business. I encourage people to turn up, show up consistently and persistently and relentlessly, the very best version of themselves. That means the best graphic, the best video with subtitles. It means being in the publications you need to be in. It means being on the social media platforms you need to be in, being consistent with your message over time, and really storytelling your product and service. And I think if you focus and stay focused on you and the very best, and being the very best version of yourself, and ticking those boxes and continuously improving, you won't be far away.
Yeah, and you've referred consistently, Gary, to storytelling, and we haven't really talked about the power of storytelling, but stories get to us much faster, don't they, than any other forms of communication? So that's something that you're passionate about as well, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I think that's born from my TED experience, isn't it? Where people weave stories through their ideas and you share in your personal experience as you've went through it and so on. Yeah, from my experience, if you don't show people how people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So in your story, I feel it's very, very important to relate to other people, make sure it relates to other people. There's no point you telling a story about something that obscure that nobody else has ever experienced, because they're never going to relate to it. Much better you telling a story about something that most people will have seen, heard, done, experienced. Because what happens then when you tell that type of story, and this is a secret ingredient in a TED Talk, is you create a shared experience. When I'm listening to you, Jane, and or Richard, or somebody telling me a story that resonates with me, you've got me. I care more. I'm bought in. I'm going, yeah, that happened to me one time, or something similar happened to me. But if you're telling me something obscure, it's like, it's very difficult to relate to that when you want to appeal to the masses, or you want to appeal to your target audience. Give them a reason to care. Give them a reason.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's so powerful. And that's also, of course, the power of podcasting, isn't it? That we're able to get together and actually share these kind of conversations with people like Richard, who's been commenting like mad tonight. Thank you so much, Richard, for your support. And obviously, podcasting, it goes out to a global audience, and for me, that's really, really meaningful. That even if people can't afford my services, they can learn from people like you and some of my other guests, and I can be the curator of that experience and actually give them some really valuable things to think about and to take away, and that's just hugely rewarding. So yeah. Well, Gary, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you tonight. So what I'd love to do is for you to tell everybody how they can get hold of you, where they can watch your TED Talks, and where they can find out more.
If you connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn, it is Gary B. Doherty, as you see on the screen. The B is for Brian, which is my middle name. And the reason, and this is part of personal branding, so here's another wee golden nugget for you all. Google your name right now if you're somebody that is leading a business or striving. Do you see yourself when you Google? If not, neither will your customers, right? That's the first thing. Secondly, there's another Gary Doherty in the world, much more famous and notable than me. And when people were searching for me, they couldn't find me. So I use my initial now, Gary B. Doherty, and you best believe there's not too many of them about. And when you search for that, you find me. So that's a tip for you. So when you're on social media, search for that. You will find me, connect with me on social media, and reach out to me anytime. I'll send you my 2 TED Talks, and you can feedback to me how great or not they are.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you again, Gary. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to have you here tonight. And really look forward to chatting again soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Jim.
Bye for now.